Hi guys, it's Carl here. I hope you're all doing okay. I'm out doing my 2K at the moment, trying not to crack up, but look, it could be worse. Things aren't too bad, and I hope things aren't too bad for you guys as well. So today's video is about estrangement and starting a family while you are estranged and all the different challenges that it presents. And this is something that I wanted to do last year. I never really got a chance to do it. And for personal reasons, it's something that's been on my mind because being estranged from somebody and starting a family, I'm aware of a lot of the different challenges that it presents. But even going back with some of my clients, we've had conversations in the past around the difficulties around what it might be like for them to start a family, and it was mostly in terms of hypotheticals. They didn't have kids then, but they were reflecting how it might be. So today's video, I just want to explore some of those challenges. Again, there's so many layers to it, I may not cover all of them, but it's worthwhile starting the discussion anyway. So last year, myself and my wife were at a prenatal course, and it was a really good day. It's all about teaching me how to be a parent and all the different skills you need to learn, especially at the early stages of having a baby. And it was a brilliant day. It was well worth doing. But there was about 40 people in the group. It was a big group, about 20 couples, and all couples about to start a family for the first time. And they broke us up into smaller groups. There was about 5 couples together. And you're asking questions. You're prompted to ask questions, or you're having conversations about all the different worries you might have and different things you're thinking about. And the topic came up around who'll be allowed into the delivery ward, and the particular girl in the group, when she started to say how her mum would insist on being there, and her mum is going to be very hands-on, and her mum is you won't be able to get rid of her, and she'll be there until the very end, and then after she'll be there every day. She was really emphasising how supportive her mum is, which is great. I wouldn't begrudge her that. But it made me start to think about the other people that were listening, what their relationship with their parents, like with their mothers or their fathers, and maybe they don't have a great relationship, maybe they've no relationship at all, and what's it like for them to listen to her really emphasise what she has against what they don't have. Now, again, maybe they did have a good relationship, but it really just prompts a question around what it would be like to be estranged and not have that support, and it's really badly needed support, and especially when the child is very, very small. It's so all-consuming looking after them. And their needs come first, and that's just the way it is. You wouldn't change it for the world. But we all know what we signed up for, but nonetheless that's a reality, and that's okay if you weren't carrying such a huge emotional burden. And that's what estrangement is like for so many people. They're carrying a huge amount of pain, and when you're carrying that pain, the emotional pain, your self-care really needs to be on point. Your nutrition, your exercise, you need to be managing yourself when you're having good days and bad days, and you're going to have bad days. Everybody has bad days anyway, but you could have really bad days if you're carrying a huge sense of loss over the relationship with your family. But particularly sleep needs to be on point as well. And let's face it, sleep is a luxury when you have a small child. So you're already in kind of working off a deficit. It's very hard to look after yourself, and then all of a sudden you don't have the support. It means you don't get any break off anybody. You don't have anyone to talk to when you're having a bad day. And I can only imagine how tough that is. And then add to that, if you're a single parent, which I don't know how somebody copes with that. I admire any person that's a single parent looking after a young infant. I don't know how they manage, but they do. But again, that's just one aspect of it. Other aspects of it are the sense of loss about the future. Like, you really emphasise, you've got a small child, you start to really imagine the family life you might want to have and what you don't have. Birthday parties for your kid, and maybe grandparents aren't going to be there, maybe their aunties and uncles aren't going to be part of it, maybe they're not going to have a relationship with their cousins. Again, that's really emphasised when you have a child, so it sometimes amplifies the sense of loss that's there, but it's not just a loss for you, it's a loss for them as well. And maybe sometimes you're projecting your loss onto them, but that's just a reality. But projection is another part of it. We internalise so much of our upbringing and our parents, their attitude towards us, and a lot of my clients share that they're terrified of passing on that style of parenting and the hurt and all the different negative aspects of their relationship with their parents or their siblings onto their own kids, and not on purpose, completely unconsciously. And we do, our parenting style is shaped heavily by our upbringing, and this is why it's really important to have a partner. In an ideal world, you would have a partner that hasn't had the same upbringing, and that maybe has had a much more stable and more secure upbringing, and they can kind of course correct a little bit if you may find that you're being a little bit impatient or a bit frustrated, or maybe getting angry or getting triggered, and it's disproportionate to what's happening. And look, that's human, and there's no perfect parents out there. I think it's just there are parents who try to be conscious and try to be aware of what they are and how they're relating to their kids and to other people, and then, course correct if necessary and make repair attempts. It's okay to say sorry, I think, and it's okay to, you make a mistake, you just acknowledge it, and you just move on. And I think that the conscious effort to be a good parent is enough. It's the best you can do. I think even the fact that so many people reach out and say that they're afraid that they might do damage to their kids, you're almost ahead of the game because you're aware of it. You're conscious of the work that you have to do, and that you don't want to, hurt your kids. And nobody really wants to, but unfortunately some people do, because they're acting out of impulse, acting out of all these unconscious drives and fears, and acting out of their own traumas. And it is quite tragic that they can't go inwards and look at themselves and look at how the art might be affecting their own kids. And it's a very difficult thing to do. I wouldn't dismiss that, which is why therapy is important, which is why talking is important, which is why meditating and all the things that we do and to manage our self-care, to be aware of our triggers, and then taking a conscious effort to decide, well, how do I want to be? How do I react differently to maybe the way I was taught to react, the way I was conditioned to react. But you will find sometimes as well that there will be conflicts with your partner around parenting style. And I think that's quite natural as well, because we're all so different. Our psychology is so different. And it's been able to maneuver around different reactions to different situations and find some kind of common ground. And I think that's why it's important to have conversations around what type of parent you want to be. How are you going to be a strict parent? Are you going to be, and often the style of parenting, it could be a reaction. You might want to be the opposite to the type of parent that you were brought up in. So sometimes people become incredibly passive because they were brought up in such authoritarian parenting style. And there's three basic styles. There's passive, there's permissive, there's authoritative and authoritarian. And authoritative is, to me, it seems like an okay style. You're still demonstrating leadership. You're in control because you're the parent, but you're not dominating. You're not trying to control everything. Authoritarian is pure control. It's my rules or nothing else. Permissive is the other extreme, where there's no boundaries. You're just facilitating anything. And it's difficult to implement these. But again, we just have to decide in advance about what type of parent you want to be. But another aspect of it, which I found very tragic, and I had a conversation with a few clients, and my clients are the nicest people you'll ever meet. They're lovely people. They're just carrying so much hurt, and often they are so afraid of hurting their own kids and propagating that intergenerational style of parenting that they think themselves, they question whether they should have kids and if it's the right idea. And I think that would be the greatest tragedy, because I think these people would make great parents. Of course they're carrying hurt, and of course that hurt may come out at times, but that doesn't mean that they're not entitled to start a family. And starting a family is such a beautiful thing, and it's a very transformative thing. And I know I'm emphasizing some of the negative aspects of being a parent. I want to end this video on positives. Having a kid is one of the most beautiful things in the world, and it can be very healing, because it's very hard for us to connect with our own child and connect with a lot of the pain that we carry. But when suddenly you have a kid in front of you, you're faced with that. And it could be the first time where you demonstrate compassion for your child. And then all of a sudden you start to realise, well, this is what happened to me. And this is, maybe I need to start demonstrating compassion for myself. I don't want to be hard on me, because, I don't want my kid to be as hard on themselves as I was on me, in the same way my parents or somebody else, maybe their siblings, were. So you're trying to break the cycle, and you realise, it changes people. It changes their psychology. We'd have this vulnerable person that's so dependent and that loves you so unconditionally as well, that all of a sudden people start to maybe realise they can love themselves unconditionally, that they're okay exactly as they are. They don't need to change. They just need to be softer on themselves, and by proxy they're softer on their kids. But that's another dynamic too. Again, look, there's other perspectives. I know there's probably grandparents watching this video that don't have access to their grandchildren. I can imagine how hard that is. I can also imagine parents who are estranged from their adult children, and for reasons of that they didn't do anything wrong. And I look at my own son now, the changing nappies and all the time and energy that goes into rearing a child. And again, you wouldn't change it. It's beautiful. But and then all of a sudden they get older and you just don't see them. I can only imagine how tragic that must be for people as well, and to not have that relationship after all that time and effort and love that goes into rearing a child, and at the end of it, you don't have that closeness. I can imagine how painful that is, and I am really sorry for people when I hear those stories. But look, that's it. Again, I don't always have answers to these videos. I can't always produce answers because there's so much density and so much hurt around these situations. But I do try to at least discuss them and address them, and that's it. So look, I'd be curious of people's experiences. If you're thinking of starting a family, what are your fears? What are your worries? What's on your mind? And I would hope that you do keep going and do decide to have a family, but acknowledge that you do maybe need to do work on yourself, and that's okay, because we all need to do work on ourselves. Nobody is exempt from that. In the same way that if you're a parent, don't just beat yourself up if you get it wrong. It's all about love. It's all about understanding for self as well as your kids. And I would hope that you learn from your mistakes and you just keep moving forward and working with your partner collaboratively, always working together to trying to do the best that you can, and that is the best that you can do. You can't do any more than that. Really quickly, I haven't worked with clients in a few months, obviously because my son was born. I wanted to be there for him and my wife, but I really feel that pull to start working with clients again. So probably starting the next week or two, I'm going to take on clients. It'll all be online, because it has to be. It'll be like that for a while. It'll probably be in the evenings. The way I work it is I tend to block book a client for maybe 5 sessions, just because you need about 5 sessions to do a bit of work. Alternatively, I do estrangement clinics, and it could be a one session, maybe an hour and a half, and we address a very specific aspect of their estrangement that might be bothering them. The one that's most common is an upcoming event. Maybe it's a funeral, maybe it's a visit, maybe it's a wedding. It's something where it's just a very specific targeted problem, and they benefit from just a bit of time just bashing that out. And I don't give people answers, but I work through the problem with them to try and find alternative ways of viewing it, or maybe even get into the root of it. So if you're interested, shoot me an email, info@carmelvin.com. I'll put an email address somewhere in the video up here or here. And that's it. Again, I hope everyone's okay. Feel free to comment, feel free to share it. Hopefully this might help other people. I know the whole idea of starting a family while you're estranged, I understand it completely. It's very difficult, but we keep moving forward and we do the best that we can. So that's it, guys. I'll talk to you all very soon. Take care. Bye bye.